Hello, it's Emma Jo here from Lavinia Stamps, and this video is Lavinia Stamps 5 Part 1. But believe me, it's going to try and tell you otherwise. I'm going to be showing you how to make a rather lovely King Hopkins A4, no less, A4 homage to the coronation, I think, of King Charles. And we're using King Hopkins as our centrepiece and lots of lovely characters joining in the celebrations. I'm going to cut to it now so that you can see it up close, and then I'm going to stop talking and show you how it's done. Right, here we go, the King. For this we're using the King Hopkins stamp on some A4 Multifarious card, and I'm just going to pop him down first. Using VersaFine Clair Nocturne, I've inked him up, popped him on an acrylic board and put him in more or less the centre of the page. And there's Boggart or Bogart, and that's where I want him, so I have inked him up with VersaFine Clair Nocturne and popped him close enough to look subservient to the King. So now let's blend the scene around them. So using a size 9 stencil brush and some Elements Ink Blue Atoll, I'm sort of creating a very subtle water. And I'm just using barely any and just building the colour up. So it almost looks like a blue mist. And I have sped it up quite a bit. So there's Elements Ink Sundance. Where's this going? Right, well, it's going around the King, King Hopkins, because he is the centre. He is the important one in this. And I'm just building the colour up so that your eye automatically goes to him. Like a sun. Fab. And again, that was a size 9 stencil brush. I'm literally just putting tiny dots of yellow as if it's reflecting slightly in the water. So this is confetti, Elements Ink confetti. And I'm just adding touches of pink to that yellow, taking that colour out towards the edges of the paper and adding subtle hints of it to our blue watery mist, or rather our blue misty water. I just love these colours. Just tiny touches of it here and there. Give that water a little bit more depth. Now what have we got? Aha! Elements Ink Russet Orange. And again, a size 9 stencil brush seems to be my favourite at the moment. And I'm just going along the edges to give us a nice orange feel, putting a little bit in the water as well. So what's going on? Let's have a foliage frame, I say. And so, with a little bit of Marine Kelp help, not easy to say, and some VersaFine Clair Verdant, I'm just going to give us some dangling foliage, varying the height along the way. Never worry about perfection because we're going to be building up on top of it. Okay? So this is just, if you like, the top half. Now that we've gone a slightly darker colour, we have gone VersaFine Clair Shady Lane to just build up. Oh, and now we're going to use some, what is Shady Lane? And we will be using VersaFine Clair Warm Breeze as well. So that's 3 colours there, and you alternate them and layer them up until you've got this lovely mixed foliage header, if you like, to your frame. And all I've done is use the Marine Kelp stamp. There we are, that's the Warm Breeze. Just adding subtle differences in the colour. Partying mice, I hear you say. What's this all about? Well, let me show you. So, VersaFine Clair Nocturne, Mini and Mousse stamp set, so I think we've gone for Mini. And I'm just stamping her a little bit above the bottom right hand corner, and that's the Basil and BB stamp set. So this is the one with the little flute and the Tilly and Tango, and they're all having a bit of a jig down the bottom. So we've got some fairies going on as well. Now that was stamped in VersaFine Clair Nocturne, and the fairies that I'm using, they're teeny weeny ones from the Fairy Foragers stamp set. And I think from the 3 Dancing Fairies too. Let's have a look, see. Yep, 3 Dancing Fairies stamp set as well. So the fairies are there, but they're not taking centre stage. There we go with Bella. And she's just going in the bottom left-hand corner using VersaFine Clair Nocturne. And this little beauty is the Hill Border Ivy stamp. And that we've inked up in VersaFine Clair Shady Lane, and we're just creating a rather nice platform for Bella's plant to grow from, and for the mice, if you like. It's a bank at the edge of the lake. And there was the fairy lantern, and this is some honeysuckle. And we've done that in VersaFine Clair Verdant. And I've done that up both sides of the centre. So I don't go down into, well, I do. There's one going down to the bottom left-hand corner, but it's more in the centre really, just to fill in those gaps. Let's create some distance. So here's me trying it out. That's the first stamp and the second stamp. So there's my first one, and I've decided I want the second one using the tree scene, and I'm just inking it halfway up that rock that King Hopkins is sitting on, either side of it, so that we get this feeling that the water comes to an end. Super duper. And take some of the ink off if you only want half of it, which is what I'm doing. I'm just adding a few more little bits of trees, using one end first and then the other. There we go. And there are some, in the tree scene set, you've got the individual trees as well. And just add a little bit of height here and there using those. Fabulous. A little skyline. I've taken the trunk off. That's what you saw me doing there, so that I can just ink the top part of the tree. Fabulous. Happy days. Right. Some musical notes for the flute playing mouse, and that was from the Musical Notes small set. And this is Mini Fish, and I'm using Misty Morning, Morning Mist, VersaFine Clair, and I'm stamping it off rather. Morning Mist, I was right, hurrah. Just so you get that subtle feeling of fish. So Posca colour as watercolour. So if you push your Posca pen down, you can get a little reservoir of ink. Add some water to it, and you're able to use that as watercolour. Now what you saw before that was me just using a little bit of water to add some splatters. Right, so I'm using the apple green to just colour in King Hopkins. I'm trying to keep his tummy and the underside of his arms paler. And adding little dots of algae, if you like. All it is dots with a brush, and that's from Watercolour Brush Set 1. And it carries that colour of King Hopkins down into the water. Let's colour in Boggart or Bogart too. So that's the green Posca. I think it's actually the glittery green Posca pen. Not the green, but you can use either. And just adding little touches of magic to King Hopkins. And we've got a little bit of shading going underneath the tree scene at the back, just to look like it was grassy before the trees. Painting along the hill border as well. And colouring painting bits of grass. And again, just dotting up that rock. Now I'm using a bit of morning mist that I have diluted, and I'm using it straight from the lid. Oh no, it's Elements Ink Graphite. I stand corrected. And just add some water to it and use it with a paintbrush, and that's fab for shadowing. Gosh, it's all coming together, isn't it? Glittery Posca Pen Yellow, just adding it on his tummy, King Hopkins' tummy, and the underside of his nose and round his eyes, and on the tips of his fingers. And the same to Boggart, really, or Bogart. Let's go with Bogart, it sounds much nicer. So, Elements Ink Sundance on the Honeysuckle, just a tiny touch. And that's lifted it again. Oh, my favourite colour. Posca Pen, Aqua Green. And I'm adding some of his warty bits, giving them different colours. So we've got some aqua green going on. And there will be other colours too, like Posca Pen Coral Red. We're doing some glittery red and some Posca Pen White on the Honeysuckle. That's what I do. A little bit of Posca Pen White on there, then add some glittery pale pink or coral, depending on how deep you want your honeysuckle to look. And it's just lovely. Posca's great because if you do two stamps over each other, with Posca you get the chance to block out the one that you want in the background so that you can keep the one you want in the foreground. And that's what I've done with the honeysuckle in places. Right, so just keep adding little bits of definition here, there and everywhere, little dots, so you can build it up is the way forward, I think. Now that's my glittery pink I was telling you about on the honeysuckle. And I'm smudging around those lanterns so that that glittery yellow Posca pen just gives it the effect of the lanterns being lit. And remember, shadow, graphite ink, little bit of water, watercolour brush. Oh, shadow, adding shadows. So I'm now using black Posca pen with a little bit of water. So I've obviously gone up a gear on my shadows from the graphite to the black Posca pen. And it just helps give definition, doesn't it? There we go, running across the back. That's our bank of whatever body of water this is. Adding a little bit of that to the grass too. And a little bit of highlight to Bella with some glittery Posca. Now the bluebells I've done with sky blue and lavender Posca pens with a little highlight of white. If you feel something needs to be darker, then just add your black Posca along the lines of it. You don't necessarily have to go right to the edge, but just adding black in the centre will bring it forward again. Add some bling. Of course we should. So I've got Stickles Icicle, and I'm just going to dot some around, especially on Bella's wings. And then I have got stencil brush size 9 and some Elements Ink Dark Denim. And I'm just going around the edge, providing a rather dramatic frame. But look at how it works with all those lovely colours, pushing them further away. Isn't it clever? So we've got a glittery green Posca pen who's bringing some of that grass back into the forefront. And that, my friends, you have done it. Well done. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I thoroughly enjoyed myself building up all those lovely colours and King Hopkins shining in the centre, looking incredibly regal. Love it. Love it, love it. And even the Mises are getting in. We might use this in the journal somehow, I think. Have to have a think. But there we go. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. There's lots of bling, lots of fairies, lots of character, which is always wonderful. Anyway, thank you very much for coming along and for joining me. I hope you've had fun. And if you'd like to leave any comments on the post below, if you'd like to leave any comments on the post below, I will do my very best to get back in touch with you as soon as I can. But in the meantime, you take care and happy crafting. Goodbye. This A4 card will be used in part 2 of the Lavinia Stamps Coronation.